Daily Ticker time to kick off the 8 a.m. hour on your Tuesday morning. And as always, it's brought to you by our wonderful friends at Pelican Brewing. Their Hard Hops presents today's Daily Ticker. Discover Hard Hops Blackberry Hop-Infused Hard Seltzer and experience your hops differently. Joining us now, as he's going to do every quarter of the NFL season, Connelly's Quarterly.
Connelly's Quarterly.
Connelly's Quarterly. Very excited about it. At ESPN_Bill C on Twitter. You go give him a follow there. National college football writer for ESPN and the man behind the S&P Plus model. Bill, good morning to you. This is getting billed in Eugene this weekend as a top 10 matchup. And then I'm scrolling through the S&P Plus, and I'm like, we're underselling this bad boy. We got a top 3 matchup. What are the initial thoughts from Bill Connelly on Oregon and Indiana and Eugene this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason Indiana's not top 3 or 4 right now is their name is Indiana. Like they were really good last year, and they, by all accounts, seem even better this year. So this is I think Oregon's better. I think they're favored in everything, but Indiana has not given us any reason to doubt them at all, and this should be a lot of fun right here.
Well, I'm curious how Bill Connelly processes this, right? Because you're a big college football nerd, as we are as well, which is why we love bringing you on. But you are the father of the SP Plus. You're watching this child bloom and blossom, and everybody's talking about how great these metrics are. I'm curious, does Bill Connelly go in mentally say, this top 3 matchup, you guys are not advertising this correctly? How do you process Oregon, Indiana with the ranking versus the SP Plus stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's 6th in points per drive, 3rd in points allowed per drive. They beat the number 29 team per SP Plus by 53 points. They're not getting credit for beating anybody good, but they've already played 3 top 50 teams. Not many teams have played that many top 50 teams yet, and they won those games by 13-53, and then the Iowa game was finally close. So, I mean, this is 2 of the most proven teams. If we're looking specifically at 2025, this is a matchup of 2 of the most proven teams in the country, and of course, both made the playoff last year as well. So this is, the only reason this isn't a top 5 matchup is Indiana's Indiana.
Which is, it's funny how the polls work that way, where last week Texas and Penn State don't have a Power 4 win, and they're still ranked inside the top 10. Now right. Both of them outside of the top 25, but Indiana's, hovering in the back end of the top 10 because of what their name is. When you look at the numbers and the matchups of this game, where's the strength, where's the weakness that makes you like either side, whether it be a position group or a defense? I mean, I think across the board, they're both very well-rounded teams. Is there a weakness or a strength that you like from one side or the other?
Yeah, Indiana's got a massive strength in terms of efficiency. They're first in my success rate measure on offense. They're second on defense. They're crazy aggressive on defense, and that means when they get hit by a pretty successful play, it's a really successful play. Old Dominion, apparently is the most explosive team in the country. They've made big plays all season, but they made some against Indiana too, and so that's it's been a kind of a high risk, high reward thing. And so for an Oregon team that also tries to dominate efficiency and doesn't seem to have like Chip Kelly 2010 levels of big play capabilities, but can certainly gain chunks at a time. It will be kind of interesting to see, because I'm not completely sure you can play super 5 yards on first down, 4 on second, 2 on third over and over and over again. You kind of have to hit Indiana for big plays, and that's not necessarily Oregon's strength. So that's going to be a really, really interesting thing to watch.
We didn't talk to you going into the Penn State game, but Oregon seemingly, I think, has broken Penn State's spirit and will to play football. We saw that play out on Saturday against a lifeless UCLA team. I'm curious, man. I do love these quarterly check-ins with you. What has Bill Connelly learned halfway through the season?
I mean, about Oregon, certainly the poise that they showed. Now, granted, yes, suddenly we don't know how good Penn State actually is and whether beating them by 6 is actually impressive. I still think it was pretty impressive, and just the fact that this was unquestionably Dante Moore's biggest moment, and he was 100% poised the entire time, made the plays he needed to make. I was really, really impressed with that, side of things. So, yeah, I mean, at this point of the season, I do think Ohio State's probably the single most impressive team. They're making games really, really boring, but Oregon's probably second. They really do nail the efficiency aspect of things. The defense doesn't seem to have any major weakness. Their red zone numbers aren't great, but they haven't had many red zone trips to defend. And so they really have kind of graded out brilliantly so far, and we'll see if that continues with apparently what is an Indiana team that is better than the Penn State when they last faced.
Isn't that funny? Bill Connelly is our guest, ESPN college football writer at ESPN_Bill C on Twitter. You can give a follow there. The man behind the S&P Plus model. You can also check out his book, Forward Progress, the definitive guide to the future of college football. We do it every year when the AP preseason poll comes out of like, hey, you guys know the streak of top 10 teams that finished the season unranked, and it's, 20 straight years. Now we got 3 candidates, Clemson, Texas, and Penn State. Oof. So I'll ask you a 2-part question. What has been the biggest negative surprise for you? I'd imagine it's from that bunch, but maybe it's somebody else. And then what's been the biggest positive surprise of like, I didn't see that coming, and they have exceeded my expectations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the negative surprise with Penn State, I'm willing to, well, it might turn out that they stink, but I'm willing to just, accept a kind of a temporary, they played Oregon pretty well, but not quite good enough, and then they just laid an egg, and now they'll be good again. They'll still lose to Ohio State, but maybe they beat Indiana or whatever and end up putting together a decent season. So I'm not writing that off entirely. But between Texas and Clemson, I mean, I scored a lot of points in the offseason. I was calling myself the resident Clemson skeptic all offseason because I just didn't understand what I was supposed to see in terms of top 5 potential. But they're not a top 40 team this year, and that's something I kind of won closest to the pin in thinking they were only like a top 15 team. But they still have underachieved really, really drastically. The Texas thing kind of makes sense. I mean, my line in the offseason was basically just that if Arch isn't the best player in the country, then the fact that his receiving core is unproven and his offensive line is brand new might turn out to be a big deal. Mm-hmm. I think that's his biggest issue right now. His offensive line is not protecting him. The run game stinks. And it turns out that Arch really isn't as good as we thought, at least in terms of footwork yet, because every single time his footwork is off, he short arms a pass. So of those two, I think Clemson's probably the more disappointing, but they've both been they have not cleared the bar, obviously.
It's not my question, but I do, based on what you just said there on your Texas note, let's be real here, okay? I think we've known each other long enough. Like, we know you back to the SB Nation days, dude. Like, not many people can say that about old Bill Connelly here. You looked in the mirror when Texas fell, and you said, you called it, buddy. You called it, didn't you?
Well, Clemson more than Texas, but it was I felt pretty good about that until Clemson just kept falling. Then I realized, okay, well, I was wrong too. But,
I love the closest to the pin reference. That's a perfect way to put it. Of like, it wasn't a hole in one, but I was on the green and I was the closest. I'm winning a prize for that one.
But the Texas one has been kind of the framing of that one. I felt pretty good about, and Arch certainly isn't the best player in the country at the moment. It has been really funny watching. Nobody knows how to frame an Arch conversation still, because now it's almost like half people are using kid gloves. Like, he's still obviously talented and he's so young. You just got to give him a chance. But he really is short arming a lot of passes, and that is a legit problem that you don't just suddenly fix. I don't think.
No doubt. I cited earlier on the show, somebody for The Athletic wrote a piece basically calling him the first flop in college football. And he just went through this whole thing, and I'm like, here we go, man. Like, the noise is getting a little louder than just saying, he's young, he can grow. It's like, no, he might be a flop. I do want to ask you, though, on SP Plus, measured with what your eyes tell you. And I know those can be very drastically different things, and game to game, stats can change maybe the measure of a team. I look at Miami, and I don't know if Miami is better than Ohio State, Oregon. I don't know where they stack with all the power players. I know they're a power player, though. And being up 28-3, that was so impressive what I watched. I know they gave up some scores late, and so the score doesn't necessarily indicate how the game felt. Miami's 11th in the SP+. Do your eyes agree with the SP+, or do your eyes tell you Miami is a top 5 to 7 team? They look the part.
Yeah, I think right now they're slightly artificially low in SP Plus just because of the kind of the freak nature of playing Bethune-Cookman. Like, the really, 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 really low-ranked FCS teams are so bad you can't let them win a single play. And so the fact that they merely dominated that game, they fell a decent amount. It was just kind of a fluky thing that, really we should just bottom 20 FCS teams, nobody should play. You can get value out of playing pretty decent ones, but that just skews everything. So I do think there's part of that. If they're 11th right now, maybe they should be 8th or 9th. But I think the other thing going on here is they don't make a ton of big plays. They basically, it was perfect with Florida State. They got the 2 turnovers they needed early, and they basically tried to make 4 big plays and hit them all, and that was pretty much it. Otherwise, Beck's averaging whatever he's averaging, under 12 yards per completion, I think, or right at 12. The run game is fine. Defense is really good, though, and that's where, I think we're going to still see moving forward. The preseason projections are still in the numbers a decent amount. Obviously, the preseason projections were not favorable to the defense at all. And so with more games played, their defensive rating will continue to rise, and that'll help a little bit.
Is Texas Tech Big 12 good or national title good?
Right now, they're national title good. Obviously, they're another team that hasn't played a ridiculous schedule by any means, and I'm already starting to, each week I see a little more pushback in the ain't played nobody chorus.
Yeah.
But they also, Utah could be really good, and they went to Utah and said, okay, we're going to play your game. We're going to just make it a slugfest, and we're going to destroy you at it. That was one of the most impressive performances of the season. And, the Houston team that they just dominated, Houston's not great, but they're not as bad as Texas Tech made them look. So I think that's really the story here is they're overachieving every single game against projections. And they've earned their spot. Staying power is a completely different story. But in terms of just the upside we've seen so far, very few teams have shown more. Like all the stuff about transfers and stuff in the offseason, they nailed it. And now they just have to keep nailing it.
I love from 136 all the way to 107. There's only two other teams in that category to match my Beavs of being winners.
Where are the Beavs in the S&P Plus?
107.
They're 107.
So the SP Plus is saying from 107 down to 136, there is a ton of teams worse than them. I've seen them play, Bill. I disagree with you. I disagree
Net
with
success
the numbers.
rate, they should be 4-2 on the year, man.
You're not wrong there. Yeah. That's a different conversation. Look, we're doing Connelly's Quarterly. We're at the halfway point of the quarterly check-ins. Bill Connelly, I give you $100.
Ooh.
Who are you placing it on to win the Natty at the halfway point?
I hate this answer because we're talking about Indiana and Texas Tech and all these teams that are legit awesome, and I think Ohio State's like boringly the best team in the country at this point. So I fear that they're just kind of cruising along in third gear. They were generous. They let Ohio stick around for a little bit. They let Minnesota score first, and then they just kind of stretched and yawned and said, okay, and landed one punch in the match. Then the game was over. So I do think that's my big. I fear that we're going to have another playoff romp here, but maybe they're peaking early and something happens and they end up coming up short. But right now, I'd say Ohio State.
Well, my co-host is wearing a Duck sweatshirt, and so you just gave him two things. You gave him the great keep doubting my team thing, and then the chip on the shoulder thing that he can use.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
Thank
Thank you, Bill. I appreciated that. I needed that.
Absolutely.
There was too much rat poison out there after the win over Penn State. Too much rat poison is never a good thing. Bill Connelly, we love chatting college football with him. Go check out the S&P Plus, ESPN.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at ESPN_. Bill C., one of the best out there talking college football, and he's got a new book out, Forward Progress, a definitive guide to the future of college football. Bill, thanks for the quarterly check-in. We'll do this again in a couple of weeks. Until then, enjoy all the ball.
Absolutely.
There you go. Bill Connelly of ESPN.
I love the quarterly Connelly
Connelly Quarterly.
Yeah.
Connelly Quarterly. Do you think Texas Tech's Big 12 good or title good?
I don't. I mean, I know what's tough is we're not going to buy the Big 12 opponents as legitimate, right? So I think that's always going to stop some. Dude, when you look at the rest of the landscape of the sport right now, Miami's SP Plus is 11. Georgia's 10. Like,
what's their offense number? You got it in front of you? Because the defense has to be top
Texas
3.
Tech is 5. On offense, they're 4. On defense, they're 11.
Yeah, so they're top 11
Their
in both
offense,
sides of the ball. That's pretty solid.
I think they're national title good. Now, am I saying I pick them or I beat them to beat Oregon, Ohio State, or Bama? I don't know if I go there, but it's college football. It's a playoff. It's going to be reseeded properly.
Seems as open as we thought it was coming into the year, does it not? There's not a juggernaut team.
Yes, they deserve a conversation of, I think they're more than just Big 12 good.